This is Average Joe Finance's podcast, episode 15.
If this is the only thing someone got from the book or this interview, and they really dug their heels in on this one thing and just started to speak as if those things they wanted to come about were reality or were going to be reality, again, the one technique in itself is completely finance and money and life transforming.
Welcome to the Average Joe Finances Podcast. Are you trying to get out of debt, invest, or just not sure where to start? Then this is the place for you. We discuss different ways to get out of the rat race and build your wealth. Join us on this wild ride to financial freedom.
All right, hey everybody. So we're back again today with James Goi Jr. This is part 2 of our 3-part series where we continue going over his book. So stay tuned, check it out. Really insightful stuff. You guys are going to enjoy this. Let's go.
Well, we all, just like we all use Mindpower, we all go through our days thinking end results. You know, we're going to have a meeting at work today. We're thinking about how that's going to go. We're driving, getting our car to drive to work. As that example again, what's the end result? We're going to work.
Just real quick, my end result for any meeting is when will it end?
Right.
Throw that out there.
Right. How long is this going to take? Yeah. The thing is that we don't understand that the thinking about the end results is actually molding the end result. That's what people don't understand. They're thinking what they surmise is their best guess about how things will happen. They're thinking how their money situation will be in a year or how a particular meeting will go and things of this nature. But when we understand that we're setting the mold for what's going to gel and come into being in the future by thinking about those pivotal times or those events or those time frames or those subjects, then we can start to think more in lines, well, what would I like the end results to be? And start to think on those results. Start to think that those are the results we'll get. Start to imagine that. Start to think and feel like that's already happening. And that is a large part because the visual component of the creative process is a huge part of the process. And so we want to always just try to think about end results that we want to bring about, because what we think about is what we tend to bring about. And it's just very empowering. It's very easy to do. The proof is that everyone's already doing it. When we understand we're doing it, when we understand the process, now we can start thinking about end results that we want to bring into being as a concerted, deliberate, intentional, focused practice. And that changes everything when we make that slight change in how we project forward and foresee the future.
That there has to be an end step, right? And if you're not thinking towards that and what that, essentially the end of that goal is going to be, you're never going to get there. So again, like I said, for me, my thoughts on meetings, especially at work, is when will this end? And I try to push that as fast as I can. So your next 3 chapters, I really like, right? And the first part of that was the think and feel as if. And I think this really gets into the heart of your thought process and your overall mentality, using your subconscious toward thinking as if it already were, right? Like I said, the next 3, they're all as ifs, right? And not in a bad way, as if you're already there. So if we could talk about that.
Well, the quote I opened that chapter with from the new TNT, Miraculous Power Within You, published in 1966, Harold Sherman wrote that. Quote, what you put into your mind in the nature of your thoughts and feelings is what subsequently materializes for you in your outer world. And that's a very simple, straightforward way of just specifically stating that our thoughts and feelings are creating what is going to materialize before us as we walk through life. So the think and feel as if technique, which is a term that I coined, and there's several others in here, you want to always basically think and feel as if those financial circumstances that you want to bring about or that you want to be true either are now or will be reality. That's it. It's different than what most people do. Most people think and feel as if what their best guess is of what's going to happen is going to come about. And so they're assuming that that's the most likely outcome. But when we start to think and feel as if the things that we want to come about either are now or will be reality, that's a whole nother ball game. So we're really putting ourselves into a much more powerful platform from which to be able to create what we want to create. And again, it's just understanding the mechanism of the human mind, of the power of thought and human emotion, of how it interfaces with the universe, of how everything is connected, and therefore we have that influence out beyond our own self into the world of other people and events, conditions, and circumstances. When we understand that, and we can start to think and feel as if, which of course we're thinking end results, and we're thinking and feeling as if those are true, it's just very powerful. I mean, you can see that the techniques in this book are each very, very powerful. Like if all a person started to do right now was to think and feel as if, and they really, really did it about their finances, they would utterly and unequivocally and no doubt prove their financial circumstances with the one technique. When you start to stack these on top of each other, and you're approaching it from many different angles with all of these different tools or way we have to do it, it's the result is more than the sum of the parts. It's a synergistic thing where you get a whole lot of extra bang for your buck, let's say, because everything feeds everything and just makes you a more and more powerful money attractor. And not just money. I mean, as I don't know if we've said yet, but I mean, everything in this book works for every area of human growth, potential, acquirement, accumulation, whatever. In this book, we look at specifically how to use all of these techniques for attracting money, but these techniques work in every area of life. And but money is a good motivator to learn how to use them. But when we use them, now we know how to use them. And now we can apply them to any other area of our life. And so thinking and feeling as if, in general, things in general are going to turn out either are now or will be the way we'd like them to be, that's life transformative in itself.
Because thinking and feeling as if, it's, you're speaking it into the universe, right? And if you're thinking and feeling that it's already there, then it is. You just need to, make it happen. Of course, this segues perfectly into speak as if, and this is one of the things I try to do all the time, speak something into existence, right? If this is something that you want, you need to go out and make it happen. So this particular chapter where you talk about speak as if, right? When you say the spoken word, right? And it's leaving your mouth. You are secretly sticking it right back here in your subconscious, right? I like this one. I actually tend to do this already and didn't even know it. So reading your book kind of helped me realize that a lot of times when I say that there's certain things that I want or certain things that I want to do, just by talking about it is helping me put that purpose in my subconscious and helping me towards that goal of what it is that I'm saying that I want to accomplish.
This is another one of those techniques that if it's all that a person did, they would utterly transform their lives, because we are always speaking into existence what then is going to happen to us. People think, well, I talk that way and I say those things because that's how they are and that's how they're probably going to work out. But what they don't understand is that's how they are and that's probably how they're going to work out because they're speaking them basically into existence. Remember, we have one mouth, but we have two ears. right? And everything that comes out of our own mouth goes right back into our own ears, and it reinforces those things that we are thinking. But I'd like to share a couple of quick quotes here on this one, because this is so pivotal, but it's also one that people have, they're like, if they're not really, immersed in the subject matter, they're like, well, just by saying it, it makes something happen. I mean, and the answer is yes. And so I have a few quotes here I'd like to share. One is from Julius Seaton from The Science of Success, that was published in 1914. If we listen to the words of the failure multitude, we will soon learn that by their words they are justified and condemned, end quote. What's that mean? That means what you say is what you get. Georgiana Tree West, Prosperity's 10 Commandments, 1944. The laws of mind go into operation through our words. So when we are, end quote. So when we speak, we are actually putting the gears and the laws of mind into effect. That's a process. The speaking itself is like turning on a switch. And another one is from Walter DeVoe from Mystic Words of Mighty Power, 1905. Thoughts are living things, and spoken words give to thoughts a body of physical vibrations which makes them still stronger. And that is a very important understanding, that not only are we exposing and giving a hearing to what it is we're thinking and to our the nature of our thoughts, but we're actually raising the frequency, the vibration. We're actually making them more real by the fact that we have spoken them. And so the speak as if technique basically is that you always want to speak as if those financial, in the sense of money, but can be used in any area of life, but you always want to speak as if those things, in this case financial, that you want to see come about either are now or reality. And the other side of that is that you want to avoid speaking as if things that you don't want to see come about either are now or will be reality. And again, if this is the only thing someone got from the book or this interview, and they really, really dug their heels in on this one thing and just started to speak as if those things they wanted to come about were reality or were going to be reality, again, the one technique in itself is completely finance and money and life transforming.
Right. Awesome. And again, these all segue perfectly into each other, right? Because the very next topic we talk about here is act as if. And this one, it always makes me think about, that saying where it's called, people say, fake it till you make it, right? And it's funny because some people look at that as a bad thing, but I don't, because I feel like if you are projecting the life that you want to have, if you are putting yourself out there, right, and showing, hey, this is who I am, this is not what I want to be, but this is who I am, right? It eventually will become reality. That's why these three particular chapters, and then of course going into the next one, which is affirmations, but these three particular ones, it just resonated with me, because it's, if you put yourself out there and you say that this is who I am, this is what I am, right, you'll make it happen. Again, you talk about the subconscious and everything, but and for people that don't believe in metaphysical or spirituality like that, I get it. But if you sit here and you try these three simple parts of his book and just try those specific areas, these are the three that resonated with me the most, and I really appreciate it. So I'm gonna stop talking so much and let you talk about this particular topic, but I just want to point out the fact that this ties into that whole fake it until you make it, saying that a lot of people use, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. So if you could please share with us your thoughts.
Well, we can say fake it till you make it, but we can also say faking it is what helps you make it. And the universe really does.
It.
Yeah, the universe really does take notice when we act as if those things that we want to be true are true. And it's also like a test or a report card, because acting as if tells us how we're doing with, for instance, our belief and our expectancy. If we, we think we have a strong belief, for instance, but we're not acting as if the thing is actually going to be, the circumstances are going to be what we are saying we want them to be and believe they are, then we're not going to, in other words, let's say it's something, something you want to purchase, it's fun, it's a reasonable purchase, you have the money, but you don't want to buy it because you just not comfortable spending the money. Well, then you're not acting as if you actually will have the circumstances that you say you're trying to create. So not only does this shine a light on the fact that there is a deficit in the belief and the expectancy, but the act of not acting as if in and of itself will then weaken the belief and expectancy even more, because now you're affirming through your own actions what you really believe is that I'm really not that sure. I might need this money for something else later or for some emergency, and I might not have it. And I don't know, it's $200. I think I'm going to skip it. Now, if it's a reasonable purchase, it's something that's going to improve your enjoyment in life or whatever, and you decide not to make the purchase because of a fear like that, then you're acting as if, but you're acting as if your financial circumstances you want to be true later won't be true. You're acting as if you can't depend on that. You're acting as if you're going to need this money later for something else, and so you better hold on to it. And if there's anything that the universe really takes notice of, this is one of the main ones. It's acting as if. So, and here's the great thing: if we do the preliminary work, the working on our desire, belief, expectancy, our money mindset, and all of that, we will naturally start to act as if, because we do believe, we do expect, we do have the proper money mind. We'll naturally find ourselves acting as if we will always have all of the money that we want to need. The other side of that is that we can start to act as if, in other words, spending some money in something fun or whatever in a reasonable way that we might otherwise not want to. So we can push ourselves a little, like, yeah, I'm a little uncomfortable about this, but I'm going to go ahead and act as if I'm not uncomfortable. I'm going to act as if I will have all the money I need later. Therefore, this money is inconsequential. I don't need to hold on to this and skip this thing that I want to do. So we can approach it from both ways, build a strong enough mindset, belief, and expectancy, and we'll naturally act as if, but also we can force ourselves to act as if. We can override our fears and force ourselves to act as if when otherwise we might not have. And the universe itself doesn't notice much of a difference. The person's acting as if they believe they're going to have enough money later. And so it's a very, it's pivotal. It's really pivotal. A lot of these I say are pivotal, but this one is really pivotal because if you don't act, that's where the rubber meets the road, or whatever you want to say. If you don't act as if, then you don't have the groundwork set in the mind power arena to make the thing come about. And until you can act as if, you're not likely to bring those things about until you get that part of your mindset strong enough so that you can freely and confidently act as if.
Let's take a quick break from today's episode to hear from our show sponsors. Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Mike Cav with Average Joe Finances. We're living in some pretty tough times right now, and if you don't have life insurance, you should probably get it. You need to protect yourself, protect your family, and protect what you own. Check out the link below in the show notes or in the video description.
You're listening to the Average Joe Finances Podcast. Whether it's single or multifamily real estate, the stock market, or side hustles, we discuss it all. Strap in and enjoy the ride.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's get back into it.
This again is going to push into the next chapter perfectly. And this is something that I woke up and did this morning, right? So affirmations. I woke up this morning and the first thing I told myself is I'm going to have a great podcast interview today. And it's coming true. So I'd like to talk about affirmations. This is something that I practice daily. And it's another one of those out of the last 3 chapters plus this, probably the 4. Again, I know you said those other 3, but these 4 are probably, if people just follow those, even if it's just the affirmations, because the affirmations will kind of help you with the previous 3, right? And if you keep repeating something over and over and over again, and you tell yourself over and over and over again that this is what, it's going to be what it's going to be, you will make that happen. So if you could talk about the power of affirmations, that would be awesome.
Certainly. Well, affirmation, I just love the subject and the practice because it's so powerful, and yet it is so simple. Like, it's one of the easiest things that you can do is to decide what you want to see happen at some point, your finances or whatever, and to assume that that is what's going to happen, to write it down as if it's already happened with no indication or reference to how it came about, writing it as if it is now, a short statement, concise, but that says everything it needs to say. And then over and over, like you said, I once used one simple affirmation decades ago to go from $10,000 in credit card debt to debt-free within a 4 to 6 week period, 4 to 6 weeks. And we actually received a gift for $10,000 at the end of that. It was either like 4, 5, 6 weeks of doing this affirmation. When I started doing it, I had no idea how I could possibly get out of that debt. It had taken a long time to get in it. 10,000 might just as well have been 10 million at the time, way back then. But through the one simple affirmation, all of our credit cards are completely paid off. An affirmation is one of its great or strong points is the fact that by definition, it's very specific, right? Specificity. We want, we put it into words, and it's very specific about what we want, or it should be. You can write an affirmation that's very vague, but that's not really a good affirmation. So you have specificity on your side where you're focusing your mind on something very specific. But then the other thing is, what you were alluding to, talking about, is that affirmations are designed and made to be used repeatedly. And you can speak them, you can think them, you can write them down sometimes at intervals. And so it's that repeated conditioning of the subconscious mind with this very precise outcome and wording it as if it's already happened. All of our credit cards are completely paid off. They are, not they will be. And that's the great power of it. And when I started that affirmation, a few days, these little doubts were creeping in, and I'm like, yeah, but how? Like, I can't, and then I just say, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's not for me to figure out. The universe will figure out the ways and means. I just need to hold tight to the end result I want. And that's what I did. And within a few days, every time I said it, it was like I already had it. I mean, it was already done. And that's a deeper teaching, really, that goes along with metaphysics, spirituality, but also quantum physics. Visualizing, that's the next chapter. When we're speaking as if, thinking as if, or whatever, we are actually creating the thing in another realm. It's a realm of energy, thought, consciousness, but it's the ground of all being. That's where everything starts for us human beings, is in thought and in consciousness. And so the things that we're creating through our words, through our affirmations, through our thinking and all of that, they're actually real now before we can see them. And to go a layer deeper, they're actually more real than what we are seeing. And the way I like to illustrate that is that nothing, can exist without first being thought of or conceived and planned in the human realm. Any invention or a chair that we sit in or whatever did not and could not ever come into being before the groundwork was set for it, before it was actually built and created in the realm of energy and consciousness. The opposite is not true. The realm of energy and consciousness can exist well without being without having a physical counterpart. So my argument is that what is created in the realm of thought and feeling and energy and consciousness is actually more real than what is here. And so we're not really trying to, if someone's trying to create a huge fortune or build a business or have some great career in something, you're not actually, when you understand that you don't have to do it here, and then indeed you can't do it here, you understand that you're actually doing it in thought and consciousness, and that you can think whatever you choose to think. To me, it's very, very empowering. It's more true. It's the reality of how it works, but it's very empowering because I have a mind. I can think, I can feel, I can have images in my mind, I can speak words, and through all of that is affecting the field of consciousness and energy. That's going to project out eventually what I see here. What I see here is not even real, and that goes along with quantum physics as well. It's just a field of energy, a field of potential, and it is influenced by expectation and by observation and things and belief and things of this nature. So it's really not that hard to do. And then when we really understand the process, we think, well, a dream can be, as big as you want. And the people who dream the biggest dreams are the people who accomplish the most, whether it's financially or in any arena of life. But affirmations, back to affirmations, it's really probably the simplest thing you can do, a technique you can use to affect your reality, because it's just, you come up with that one statement and then just say it. Even if you don't believe it in the beginning, it'll work if you stick with it, because you will influence your subconscious mind over time. It will come to believe what you're already true, and then it'll make it true.
All right, awesome. So this is going to go into your next chapter, which is visualization, right? And one of the things you talk about in here is, creating these mental images, right, of what it is that you're trying to, manifest, or the things that you're trying to make happen, right? So you have to have that vision. So if you could go into a little bit about how visualization ties into this particular part.
This would be a good place, I think, to state that there are 4 basic mechanisms or key to applying mind power. And they're basically our thoughts, our feelings, the images we hold within our minds, and the words we speak. If we harness those 4 things, that's basically the way to apply mind power. And I open this chapter with a quote from Adelaide Bry with Marjorie Bear. Visualization is the name of the book, subtitled Directing the Movies of Your Mind, 1978. And that's also one of the early books that I read very early on. It's probably within my first, 10 or 20 books that I read that. Through our inner images, our mind is causing what happens to us all the time. What we experience in our lives is the direct result of these images. And again, this is one of the things that I say this is very easy to do because everyone's already doing it. We go through life, people say, I had a flat tire today, and immediately you think, if you know their car, you see their car with a flat. Like everything is visual. Everything has a visual component. And so when you're driving to work, you are visualizing your workplace. You're seeing yourself drive into the thing. So we're always visualizing. The thing is, we're not doing it in a creative, productive way, or as creative and productive as it can be. So basically, the specified, technique of visualization is that we want to start painting and running through our minds the scenarios and the imagery for what we want to bring about. And this is a well-known this in, for instance, sports. And there's There's one book, it's called The Inner Game of Golf. There's a book, I think, called The Inner Game of Tennis. And in certain other athletes will talk about them. Yeah, I quote Chuck Norris, because I heard him talking about it one time. He would self-winning the match before he went into the match, full contact karate. And he said, you must always keep a mental image of your goal. And that's from Chuck Norris's The Secret of Inner Strength, 1988. So we're always having images in our mind, but when we understand the great creative force that those images are, and that they unleash and direct and focus, then we will understand the great value and benefit to starting to decide what types of things we want to see come about, and then running those images through our minds. Now, you can do a visualization as a practice where you yourself and you're in a quiet place and you're reclining and you do some relaxation, breathing techniques or whatever. That's all well and good, but also that you're having images in your mind all the time, and those are what you want to be aware of, and those are what you want to be guiding, orchestrating, and governing. And if you do, you are by default guiding, governing your circumstances as they unfold, because we see them first. We see in our minds first what we're going to create, and those things manifest because we created them within our minds. So visualization is a very, very powerful technique, and it's simple to do. And so I'll mention here too that some people say that, well, I don't really see anything. Everyone visualizes in their own way. And, but if visualization is not a real strong thing for you, well, you'll do a little bit of it, but you might like affirmations more. Some people are, take to visualizing like a duck to water. And so that's for them. So I always say mind power is as much a science as it is an art. The science part is everything that and how it works, and the art part is how each person will then apply that to their own lives and their own situation. But certainly visualization in its various shapes and forms should be a part of that to some degree at least, and a really great degree for certain people.
All right, that's a great way to look at it. Like you said too, the visualization might not be for everybody, and for some people it might be more of just doing their affirmations, right? But I feel like if you could have that mental picture of what it is you're trying to accomplish, it's going to help you push even further past that. So even if you don't, do the visualization thing and you're just doing affirmations, got it. But if you can visualize, what it is you're working towards, it's only going to help you get there faster and more concise.
Right.
So,
let me jump for 1 second in here.
Sure.
And say that you'll notice as you study the book and as you start living all of this, that there's a lot of overlap. For instance, you can't
Right.
do an affirmation without having an image of what you're affirming. So
absolutely.
you're automatically visualizing when you're affirming, or when you're seeing, imagining end results, thinking end results, when you're thinking and feeling as if. There's images involved with all of that. So even if a person doesn't say, okay, I'm going to do this, or visualizing right now, you're always you're visualizing. And by doing the other techniques, you'll be visualizing more than you even realize. But a lot of these, they intertwine, and you can't do one without, which is why I said, like, speak as if you just do the one thing. If that's all you're doing, you're also thinking as if, you're also thinking end results, you're also visualizing because you're having images. So you can't do any one of these in a vacuum. They overlap, and if you do any one, you're actually doing multiple, you're doing several.
Right. And it's just like, some people have a vision board that they like to make, and they put the different things with their different goals that they're trying to get to and the different steps they're going to take to get there. This is almost like a mental vision board, right? So you're putting, you have the vision of what it is, what your goal is, what you're trying to accomplish. that you turn around and you think as if you've already done it, and you're there. You're acting as if it's already something that you've accomplished. You are using your daily affirmation, saying that I will have $1 million, or I do have $1 million. I do have $1 million. I do have $1 million. I am financially free. I am financially free, right? You give these affirmations to yourself, but like you said, it's going to start somewhere, and it's usually going to start in your thoughts as a vision. So that's definitely something I think people can resonate with, and something they can tie it to. The next thing you talk about, the next chapter, is environment, right? And this one I feel like is important if people don't realize the environment they surround themselves in, where they put themselves, right? So a lot of times you think that you're most at peace in your home or anything like that. So for me, I like to sit outside on my lanai, out by my banana trees and papaya tree, and just, it's nice and relaxing. You can sit out there and see the birds and just all the wildlife out here in Hawaii just doing their thing. And it's, when I'm collecting my thoughts, it's a good place to be. It's the environment I like to put myself in. But you talk to it a little bit differently about environment. And one of the things I like that you talk about is how there's certain things in your environment that can impact you positively, and certain things that can impact you negatively. And I know you talk a little bit about TV and radio and things like that. And this is something that my entire family, we're trying to lessen our screen time. But in today's environment, it's kind of hard to do that. But I'd like for you to talk a little bit about environment and how it affects your mentality.
And environment does indeed affect your mentality, but also your mentality affects your environment. So we're in the environments that we are in because we have created them, or we have attracted, or we have been drawn to them because we have been thinking in ways that are in line with what those environments are. And so we also understand that when we do understand that we have created those environments and been attracted to them and drawn them to us, it's through our mental workings. It's through our images, our thoughts, our feelings. And when we understand that, we can start to change our inner world so that our outer world will then start to come more in line with our inner world. And we're in the exact perfect environment for us at this moment. And whatever your environment is, pleasant or not, or a mix, which it is for most people, it's a wonderful, wonderful lesson. And the lesson is that how you've been thinking or feeling has brought you here. It's an exact correlation. This is what you've created. Now that you know you've created it, you can create something different. So our environment is in a very real way a reflection of us. And if we want to get deeper into it, spiritually, metaphysically, and quantum physically, it's not separate from us. Our environment is us. And so when we change our inner environment, thoughts, feelings, images, then our outer environment will automatically start to change to come in line with that. And another great thing is that when we start to change our physical environment, then we start to change our inner environment. So in other words, if we start to think more organized, in a more organized way, we will find ourselves just naturally organizing our environment to be in line with that mindset. But the opposite is also true. If we start organizing our home and getting things more where they need to be and in line with a more smooth, focused operational procedural life, then we can do that manually with our hands, and that will then start to increase the organization within our minds. And so one feeds the other. Environment and individual become a closed loop, and that's people stay in the same basic environment for a lifetime, basically the same frequency, mindset, or frame of reference or worldview will be supported by the various environments they find themselves in, which are not as different as they might seem to be from what you were in before. You can be in a whole new place. You could be on a different continent. You could be around different people. But if you really look at the situation, it's kind of like the other people. It's kind of like my circumstances are the same here, and I'm still feeling the same way. So environment is one of these key points that a lot of people miss when they're talking about mind power and affirmations and law of attraction and everything else. We are profoundly affected by what we habitually see here. And we can also have a profound effect on what we see and hear, improve the quality of it in relation to the help that it'll be in us creating what we want, and then we will be creating more of what we want. So this is I think an often overlooked aspect of how to apply mind power at a high degree, is being very mindful of environment and addressing that that key area of life.
Right. Okay. And you kind of talked about this a little bit. This segues well into your next chapter, which is organization. All right. So that's it for today with James Goi Jr. on this second part of this series. Next week, we're going to finish up his book and give our final thoughts. So really hope you guys are enjoying this, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Hey, if you're watching this video on YouTube, be sure to smash that like button and click subscribe. Also, if you're listening to this as a podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on our newest episodes. Be sure to check us out on all of our social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. All the links are in the description below.
Thanks for listening to the Average Joe Finances Podcast, your source for beating debt, saving money, and investing. Learn more at averagejoefinances.com.
The Average Joe Finances Podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Do not use this for any real estate or investment making decisions. All views by myself or our guests are solely our own and do not reflect the opinion of our employers.